Explored a little bit about the relationship between matter emerging in zones of rifting where we're spreading that mass apart, and then zones of collision where we're getting subduction taking place. So that's this bit of a diagram here. We're not quite seeing the rifting zone, but this diagram should be familiar because it is from your textbook. So we're rifting here and we're pushing down material through here, and then emerging volcanic material here. This is what's happening right here. So we're getting this subduction zone and we're creating this trench, a massive trench that starts up here in Kamchatka all the way through to Japan. We're pushing the Pacific Ocean in under here, and we are erupting volcanoes which are creating a volcanic arc, which is the nation state of Japan. Pardon me for my stuttering. We're seeing Kamchatka form the same way off the map here. The Aleutian Islands are formed similarly. We've got the Philippines coming through here, Borneo and Java through here as well. Here is a rift zone. So you can see contextually through these visual associations the very different scenarios that we're getting out of a rift area, and the patterning produced here, and the texture quality, and then the texture quality of this crumple zone. This always works very much like the crumple zone on modern vehicles, where you get this rippling effect taking place that is perpendicular to the direction of the energy push. So we're getting a push in this direction and a push in this direction and a push in this direction. You can kind of see that with the direction that these subduction zones are occurring within. What's also lovely on this map are two other things that we can see quite clearly here, and this is the genesis of the Himalayas and the Hindu Kush area as the energy pushes into Asia from India here. So you can see this initial place of deformation and deflection upwards from the Himalayas, and then the consequential folding, if you will. So if you go home and you take a towel and you lay it flat on your counter or a table and you push one end of it, that's essentially is going to create a bunch of ridges, which is what we're seeing right here and what we're seeing right here. The second thing that's really apparent is that rift area that we were talking about before. This little dot right here, that's Lake Victoria. This is the Red Sea, and the Red Sea is splitting, but we're splitting through here as well. So you can see that scarring taking place through here that we mentioned before. I also had indicated that Asia and Europe were two separate land masses that fused together. Here's that point of fusion. This margin right here, the Ural Mountains, fused these two continents together the same way India's collision with Asia is fusing together with the creation of the Himalayas. So that brings us to understanding the configuration of the modern crust. And our modern crust is made up of 14 basic plates. Those are the big guys: the Pacific plate, the Nazca plate, South America, North American plates, a Caribbean plate. I won't name them all, but these are the big ones. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of much smaller plates, if you will, that are fractured on the edges and the margins of these plates. And geologists are good at recognizing and understanding how all of these little puzzle pieces fit together adjacent to the big ones. And I hope that you appreciate that those separate little crust segments occur because of all of the fracturing that we saw with the examples of California and Iceland a few minutes ago. All right, this map is great because it's showing us the direction of movement for all these plates. So for the most part, we're seeing that the active rifting zone is this big zipper, which is the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, and we're seeing a lot of movement in this direction and a lot of movement in this direction, which are going to culminate in the collision in the Pacific Ocean. But what's super cool here is this rotational movement that's happening right here, conjunction on this spot here, right here, for what is the Antarctic plate. So the Antarctic plate is sort of like a little gear that's rotating on the bottom of our planet right now. The byproduct of all of these plates and all of this movement creates three conditions: divergent zones where we're spreading apart, that Mid-Atlantic Ridge; convergent zones, which are collision zones, like the Nazca Plate moving under the South American Plate to create the Andes Mountains. Or we've got transforms where they're sliding past each other, and that would be an example of the North American Plate and the Pacific Plate in Southern California with the San Andreas Fault System.